Welcome, guys. Welcome back to my channel. And if you are interested in self development, working from home, and entrepreneurship, you are at the right place. Writing is one of the most effective ways to communicate with self and others. However, confusion and conflicts arise when the intention of the message is not clear and thus a particular message is taken out of context. And I am going to discuss today one of the most commonly ignored reasons why, and that is the use, misuse, and abuse, so to speak, of punctuation marks. Punctuation saves lives. And you may ask, what? Really? Are you insane? Well, my answer is a resounding yes, and I can prove that in a moment. You must have studied punctuation marks and their uses before in your elementary days, but I believe that it is worth reviewing them through this video to improve your style of communication for better understanding of your message. So what is punctuation? Punctuation is not an absolute science but a process, which is known as one of the mechanics of writing. It aims to convey the most accurate expression and interpretation of language that is used to communicate effectively. Its use is somewhat subjective, which means that many people can debate among themselves as to whether a particular punctuation mark should be placed on or before a certain word and so forth. Punctuation also requires the use of several symbols, collectively known as punctuation marks. And talking about punctuation marks, we have about 14 of them that are basically used to make the expression of language more easily and readily understood. In other words, they aid the clarity in the message, which means that they play a vital role when we want to communicate or convey our message every single day. All the more that they become significant in a particular field, specifically in what I do in my profession in medical transcription, because the use, abuse, and misuse of punctuation marks can compromise or pose a potential risk for our patient safety, and I can have another video to explain that further. As I have mentioned, punctuation becomes a huge part of my profession as a transcriptionist, as I deal with medical reports that are said to be legal documents, which means that I have to be very careful with its proper usage to ensure 100% accuracy relative to our patient's safety and treatment. But you don't really have to be a medical transcriptionist just like myself, because what I'm going to show you next are the 14 punctuation marks that we use every day for emails at work, for text messaging our family and friends, content writing for your business, school papers, to name a few. Let's get started with the most common, period. It is used after a complete thought to indicate that it is the end of a sentence. Either it is a statement or a command. For example, I went to the market. Question mark. You use a question mark at the end of a direct question or interrogation. For example, how are you? Exclamation point. It is used to emphasize or exclaim a strong emotion such as excitement. For example, wow, I can't believe it. And then we go to a comma. It is primarily used to separate items in a list. For example, buy bread, fruits, and soda. Now we move on to a colon. It is primarily used to introduce a list, a series, or enumeration. For example, buy this, rope, nail, and pin. Semicolon. We use a semicolon to separate two independent clauses that are somewhat related with regard to the idea or the thought of the message. For example, I'll run tomorrow, she'll go with me. Moving on to a hyphen. The primary role of hyphens in general language is for word division and in compound expressions. It is also used to split a word by syllables. For example, I have an up-to-date history. Now, a dash. Just so you know, a dash is not the same as a hyphen because its function is to separate parts of a sentence. It can also indicate a range of a particular value or something by which when you look at it, it is longer than a hyphen. For example, I will read pages 45 to 60 of the book. Apostrophe is used for contraction, for possession, plural forms of something, and abbreviations. One of my examples is, my child's bag is new. Quotation marks. These are used at the beginning and end of a word, a phrase, or a sentence to show that it is the exact way it is said or written, which we normally see in comments, citations, quotes, and sayings. For example, he said, comma, you're beautiful. Parentheses are used to separate explanations or quantifying elements within a sentence. For example, I bought her favorite fruits, apple, banana, and orange. We oftentimes get confused as to whether it is a brace or a bracket, and it becomes even more confusing when these are called with other terms. For a brace, it is also known as curly brackets, and brackets are called square brackets, and then parentheses are called round brackets. And here's the interesting part. We don't commonly use the curly brackets or the brace because in writing, we use parentheses or the round brackets to clarify a word or a group of words, as you can see in the example. I bought several gifts, mainly CDs or compact discs. Ellipsis. These are the three dots used to indicate the part of the text that has been intentionally left out. For example, I'm thinking about buying. A virgule is commonly known as a slant or a forward slash, and among its many functions, it is used to indicate a choice between the words it separates. For example, are you male, female? Now let's go to the very interesting and at the same time fun part here. Remember I said in the beginning that punctuation saves lives? Here we go. Assuming you're a mom and you ask your child to call her grandmother as the dinner is ready. So let me illustrate how one simple use or misuse, so to speak, of a punctuation mark makes a huge difference and can save a life. Now let's play around with these two versions of text here. The first version is this: let's eat grandma. The second version is this: let's eat grandma. Version 1 reads as though they are going to eat grandma. Yikes. Whereas version 2 means she is actually calling her grandma to eat. Now see the difference? Did I prove my point here? You see, this is truly commonly ignored but has a huge impact in the message overall. And there's a lot of ways on how you can really appreciate punctuation marks to communicate your message properly, especially in a written language. And I hope that from this day moving forward, you become more careful with your punctuation marks because it can really save a life. So again, I invite you to please subscribe, like, and share this video so you will be notified of the information I'm going to be sharing in the near future. And I'll see you again next time. Godspeed!